Welcome to this episode of Litigation Briefs, Media Shorts on Law and Courts. I'm Scott Dodson, a distinguished professor of law at UC Hastings College of the Law, and the director of the Center for Litigation and Courts, which produces this series. Disparaging lawyer jokes have been around since there were lawyers. Few specialties within the practice of law, though, generate more disparagement than personal injury lawyers, from claims of ambulance chasers preying on the vulnerable to make a quick buck, to the charge that such lawyers manufacture cases to blackmail defendants into settlement. Are personal injury lawyers really deserving of such scorn? Here to offer the personal injury lawyer's perspective is my guest, Scott Righthand, the owner and founder of Righthand Law, a firm that represents injured plaintiffs. Scott, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Scott, tell me a bit about what you do and whom you represent in your practice.
So what we do is we represent people who are ordinary folks who otherwise would not be able to afford counsel and would not, ever be able to retain lawyers typically. These are people who have suffered serious or catastrophic injuries or otherwise been emotionally or physically devastated. It could include car collisions, motorcycle collisions. It could include product liability cases, product failures that might be vehicle or could be, other things like lithium-ion battery fires, et cetera. So we also do a little bit of malpractice.
What do you offer these particular clients?
So the wonderful thing about this business is, and I guess the wonderful thing about our judicial system, is it gives people who feel that they've been wronged a forum within which to vent their ideas and their criticisms and right their wrongs. And so what we offer them is the ability to access the court system and the ability to right that wrong, and that's really what we do. Some of these people may not be able to work, they may not be able to walk again. They now look at their future and have no idea how they're going to move the ball forward. And oftentimes none of this is their fault. So what we have here is a system that allows the recourse for these people, and we are right in the middle of that system. So we are their spokesperson. We develop the information that is presented to us through their case, and we're the ones who present that at trial if need be, or throughout the course of their case, whether it comes to trial or whether it doesn't. We can't offer their livelihoods back, but we can make those who harmed them compensate them. And this we call money justice. It's really the only way that these people can receive some recompense and some way to get them back on track in their lives.
Let's put some details on that. Can you describe a recent case of what happened, what you did, and what the result was?
Of course. So there are a couple of things that we've done recently. One example is we did a really catastrophic injury case that involved a lithium-ion battery fire that took place at night in a motorhome, and it was a lithium-ion battery that was a piece of a laptop computer that one of the children in the motorhome had been working. And so everybody went to bed. The computers were still plugged in. One of the things about lithium-ion batteries is they're very volatile, and you really never know what might set one off. And one of these batteries caught on fire in the middle of the night, burned the motorhome to the ground. 2 people died in that fire of the 4 that were there. One of the children was seriously burned. And we were able to, obviously we couldn't bring the lives back of those people that died, but we were able to make, to allow life to go on for the woman who survived it and her 2-year-old who was badly burned. So we were able to bring actions against manufacturer of the batteries. We were able to bring actions against the motorhome manufacturer for escapability problems. There was only one exit to that motorhome. So that family was completely devastated and was, regardless of what we did. But we were able to provide recompense and resolution for these people, so that the child would be taken care of for the rest of his life, and this woman could start over again and have a financial basis to do that. We another case we just finished. We just finished a wrongful death case in a malpractice genre against Kaiser. We're still waiting for the result on that case. A relatively young man, I say very young, 54-year-old man who had been a professional tennis player, a pretty well-known guy. His name actually is Ken Flack. Many people might know who he is. He was a two-time Wimbledon doubles winner, two-time United States Open winner, Olympic gold medalist in doubles. He wound up getting the flu. This is before COVID. He wound up getting the flu and became septic, and Kaiser had some processes in place that unfortunately did not timely allow people who were seriously ill or sick to get seen in a timely manner. And it took Kaiser a day to get to see this man. By the time he got in, he was seriously in septic shock, and there was nothing they could do to help him, really, though they tried at that point, but it was way too late. So we're still waiting the decision on that case. Hopefully we're going to provide a little justice to the widow. So we'll see.
How do you find these clients? Do you really chase ambulances? Do you hang out at hospitals? Do you stop on the highway to hand out your card at the scene of an accident?
Well, of course, you know the answer to that, Scott. That's not what I do. And this is, having been in this business more than 40 years, there's no need for me to do any of that. You're not going to see my picture on the back of some bus, although you do see pictures of personal injury lawyers on the back of buses, and you see their pictures on them and their ads, everywhere and anywhere, on every billboard and all that. So, lawyer advertising, to me, it's not something that I need to do, and it's not something largely that I do. The biggest advertisement I have is my website, which just essentially tells people what I do. Most of my cases come from lawyers who don't do what I do, who've known me over the years, who know the good work that I do, or from the clients that I've worked with who refer other clients or other potential injury clients that they talk to me. That's really where my cases come from.
Who pays for your services? Do the clients pay, and how do they pay?
So everything that we do is contingent fee work. What that means is that we don't get paid unless or until we resolve the case. So we either do good work and get paid, or the case fails and we don't get paid, but neither does the client. But whether or not one of the great things about this, one of the things I love about the business, is that we don't have to send bills out every, day, week, month. We don't have to go after the clients who, can't afford to pay us to pay lawyers' fees bills. So none of that happens. We either do the work and we get paid for it, and we get paid very well, or it doesn't work out. And so fortunately, in my experience, I'd say 95% of the cases that we choose to do work out well, whether by settlement or verdict.
Let's talk about the perceptions. What are the perceptions of personal injury lawyers?
Well, I've lived with this for so many years. It was really the first thing that was the biggest barrier for me to get into this area, because it's hard when you tell people what you do and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you chase ambulances," or you file frivolous lawsuits or whatever. But those perceptions are really put forth largely by industry people such as, the California Medical Board or um, other insurance industry people who really have all the money in the world and can put that out there repeatedly in advertisements to the public, and people just repeat it without really any basis for it. And it's essentially it's difficult to live with, but you have to believe in what you're doing and know that what you're doing is the right thing, and understand that without lawyers like me and lawyers that do what's necessary to be done for people who can't afford to do it, there is no playing field. The insurance companies and big industry, big pharma, the auto industry, all these people that have products that fail, or the Kaisers of the world that really are so huge that so they lose a patient, or so one of their patients becomes a quadriplegic, or that's the cost of doing business to them. So, well, it's not the cost of doing business to me. And the wonderful thing about what we do is that we can level these playing fields even against the biggest corporations and the biggest HMOs in the world. So I love what I do. It's a pity that I have to live with those lawyer jokes and with people saying what they say. But people always say what they say about whatever they want to say. Just get on social media and you'll see. Just we've all lived through years now of everybody in the world getting on having some forum to say what's on their mind. And so if I listen to all that, then there are hundreds and hundreds of clients that I've represented who have their lives back that would never have had their lives back. So, it is what it is.
Some might say that the problem isn't suing for real mistakes where there's been a legitimate claim. The problem is personal injury, attorneys convincing their clients that there's been a mistake when there hasn't been one. How would you respond to that?
So if you just take a second to think about that suggestion, it makes absolutely no sense. As I said earlier in this conversation, I don't get paid unless or until the case is resolved. And if I am working with cases that have no merit and have no value, then my client's not going to get paid. I'm not going to get paid. It costs a lot of money to do these cases. You have to retain experts. You have to pay for depositions. You have to pay for staff. You have to, this business is not an inexpensive business. So if I'm working on cases that are not meritorious and I don't get paid, then and everybody's like that, the whole system crashes and burns. Nobody gets paid. The client doesn't get paid. The system doesn't work, and the whole thing becomes completely futile. So that's not the model. The model is you find cases that are meritorious. There are plenty of them out there. You only take the cases you only represent the people that deserve to be represented and are seriously injured, and that you think that you can put back and bring them, kind of make them reasonably whole. Although many people, because they're physically injured, will never be physically whole. But if you take frivolous lawsuits, or if you try to litigate frivolous lawsuits, you're going to crash and burn. There's just no other way around it. And the people that survive in this industry, especially those as long as I have, don't do it because taking frivolous lawsuits won't do anything for your clients, won't do anything for you, won't do anything for the system.
I'm going to ask you one more question. What's the most fulfilling thing about the cases that you take and the clients that you represent?
So really, it's the thank you note at the end of the case. The most fulfilling thing to me is successfully working my tail off to make this case what it is, to bring every single fact forward in it, to show the defense lawyer, the jury, whoever it is, the arbitrator, exactly what happened here and why the client is a worthy client, why the case is a worthy case, why the injury is as substantial as it is. That's my job, to bring all that to the forefront. And when I do that, and at the end of the day, the client says, my God, I had no idea what it is that you people did when I got hurt, when we started this. And I am so grateful for all that you've done for me. And I get that thank you note. That's what it's all about.
Scott, thanks so much for being on the show and for explaining personal injury lawyering.
Thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure.
This episode was produced by the Center for Litigation and Courts at UC Hastings College of the Law. If you enjoyed this episode of Litigation Briefs, I hope you'll tune in to future episodes. In fact, I hope you'll consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and audio podcast, which can be accessed through the Center for Litigation and Courts website at sites.uchastings.edu/CLC. While you're at it, encourage a friend to do the same. This is Litigation Briefs. Respectfully submitted, Scott Dodson.